Mr. Speaker, the preventative detention amendment is sure to attract a great deal of debate, as it had done on the last occasion when we attempted it. I want to make clear that those that are engaging in the debate, I would want to suggest, ought to try to be helpful, ought to try to be constructive, ought to try to make suggestions to help the government and the society to deal with this problem that we're trying to attack. It's not useful as to do what some lawyers have tried to do, simply to get up and to criticize and to hurl accusations and to make charges. There is a problem, and only a fool would not accept that it is a huge problem that requires the efforts of all of us. And so it cannot be helpful simply to point fingers rather than to attempt to assist the government in coming to grips with the problem. The preventative detention provisions, let me make clear that when the Constitution and Foreign Affairs Committee is going about this country, because naturally, since what we're proposing is an amendment to the Constitution, there must be the countrywide consultations, there must be a 90-day waiting period. We will provide a draft of the implementing legislation in the event we succeed in changing the Constitution, the law that would actually implement the provisions, provide the detailed provisions for how the preventative detention regime would work. We will circulate that, we will give it to the social partners and of course to the wider public, so that when the committee, when the Foreign Affairs and Constitutional Committee of the House is engaging the public will have that draft legislation on which to comment and in relation to which they could make, as I suggest, suggestions. Nobody is going to stand on this side of the House and suggest that the draft we provide is going to be perfect. We are hoping that that draft will in fact be improved as a consequence of the debate. But what we want to signal is that once we have the numbers on this side, we will pass the constitutional amendment. The question of anonymity of witnesses, that is really a huge step. Again, it is a traditional sacrosanct right that if you're accused of something, you should be able to face your accuser, you should be able to face anybody who is going to testify against you. And so this is a fundamental change, Mr. Speaker, and we're well aware of that. But again, we fool ourselves if we don't accept that witnesses don't come forward, especially with respect to gang-related shootings, gang-related murders, because they are told that if they say anything, they too will be murdered. And it has happened. It's not a matter of talking. It's not a matter of idle threats. It has happened, and it has happened on several occasions. And so, if we're going to be able to get the evidence that will allow us to secure convictions, especially in the case of gang-related murders, we need a provision such as this one. Clause 4 of what we're introducing proposes to amend Section 7 of the Constitution, and that is a section that deals with inhuman or degrading punishment or treatment. The idea here is to deal with the fact that that section has frequently been used to challenge the death penalty on the ground that the imposition or the execution of the sentence of death is inhuman and degrading punishment. Well, we are going to put something in the Constitution, if we can secure the votes, to obviate that possibility, to make sure that you can't challenge the death penalty. If a court of law finds that you're guilty of murder and says that you ought to hang, that you ought to be put to death, then we want to know that you can't challenge that on the basis that there's some constitutional right that provides you from being executed. I am sure that that measure is going to be extremely popular with the public. It might get us into some difficulty internationally because there are all these liberal Western European democracies that insist that the death penalty is in fact inhuman or degrading punishment. Well, they don't live in the small society that we live in. They are not experiencing the concentrated fury of this assault on our lives, on our dignity, on our citizen security. And so we will do what we believe we have to do for the protection of citizens in our society.